Cool. Yeah, I think everyone, I was going to say everyone starts in the same point, but that's not everybody. That's probably you and me and a few handful of others. Because I remember when I used to, even before I had my team, there was only one other person out of like 150 units or 150 agents in my office at KW that actually showed up in the morning. And we would just take up the whole training room and just make calls together. And that was before I even hired my first assistant. But at that time, I think I had my first VA that we briefly talked about. And it took a while to figure out, but what's your perception on team building though? Like
in terms, and what do you mean?
Like, how do you think about it? Like, it seems like you feel it's important, but maybe you haven't taken the leap of faith because maybe there's something holding you back. Like the way that you think about it, maybe, or a limiting belief about it, or what do you think? What comes up to mind? Like,
yeah, I mean, I want to build a team. I think the thing is like right now it's like, all right, I was hot like the past year and a half because the market, whatever the case may be. But now like it's like transitioning over here. I feel like, all right, like I really just need to buckle down, just do basics, like do the basics and like really learn and do that. But I want to build, I mean, I want like, more leverage, not even leverage, just want to like do something different. I think I like building business and just doing real estate. For the dog.
Yeah, I know, that's my dog. How would you describe different? Like, you're saying that you want to do something different. So in your mind, there's something better that you could be doing. Is that what you're kind of suggesting? What would that be though, in your mind?
Yeah, I mean like when I say different, I mean like different, like my team lead gens prospects in different ways than the traditional, teams around my area. Like, my team has more heavy emphasis on video. Like people that come into my world like need to be like video dominant or aspire to learn video and create ultimately, and not really like it's just be open minded. Like they just gotta like believe and see it and just like do it kind of thing.
I think you're going to be the example for them, right? Your results are going to speak to why it makes sense to do. Right. But I'm sure even you think the results that you've gotten isn't even, it's like scratching the surface, so to say, of what your business could be. So I'm sure there's people you look up to that kill it in video. I mean, I even reached out to you to get a couple of names. But from a production standpoint, what do you see their business? Like, how has video directly influenced their business in terms of sellers, buyers, types of sellers, types of buyers, how many per year? Like, what's the largest scale that you've seen someone take that, just that one leg of business?
Like an agent that I know?
Yeah.
Paul Wolfert. So I think the thing too, just to remember, in my opinion, like, I don't live in the city of Chicago. Like, so it's like people, I don't have a big metro like someone lives in Orlando. They have a big metro of Orlando, and they have like a ton of surrounding suburbs. Like if someone that lives in Tampa, they have that huge metro. There are a lot of suburbs around there. Like my metro is Chicago, but Chicago is like its own little thing. Like that's its own little, like you can just dominate Chicago as a niche. So like I just gotta remember, like when I shoot video, like if I'm shooting video for like local content, stuff like that, I gotta remember I got like the hyper local videos for me will kill it more in terms of more purposeful people searching. But someone that kills it, that's kind of like my position, where like, all right, we have a huge metro, like I have a huge metro in Chicago, like huge, like that's massive. But like I ideally don't want to work, and I don't work the city because it's like 35-40 minutes away. And my buddy named Paul Wolfert, and he's in Michigan. He's probably like the same thing. It's like 40 minutes outside Detroit. He doesn't want to work Detroit, but like his business, he was doing 12 mil a year from like just normal business, and then YouTube gave him another 12.
Got it. So 12 and 12, right?
Yeah.
How many units is that for him? Because price points probably matter for volume.
Yeah,
right?
I mean his price point's pretty low, but he says he's been working high price points because of YouTube.
Higher price points. Okay. You know, not surprisingly, I'm in the same situation as you. I think online we might describe our area as a San Francisco Bay Area, but really where our office is a county south of San Francisco, which is San Mateo County. And then that is smack in the middle between Silicon Valley, which is Santa Clara, and then up north is San Francisco. So I'm in the same thing as you. I need to create for at least from a video perspective, a niche that is specific to the cities and the county that I serve. And it's probably much less of a search term than Chicago versus, let's say, the suburb city that you work in.
Right.
So it's same thing. And I think you would probably agree that 12 plus 12, 24 million in production is admirable, but also not at the production level that you would say is like, I don't want to say end game, but like a place where you reach, where if you consistently do that business, you'd be like, hell yeah, I'm so happy, right?
Right.
Who's the top agent in your suburb? What is their production like? If there is one.
In my specific suburb, I mean, they're probably clearing 1 million plus GCI a year.
1 million plus GCI?
Yeah.
How many? That's gross, right? That's not net.
Like they're netting probably 1 million, I think.
Netting 1 million. So that means, are they a KW team?
Yeah, one was a KW team, yeah.
Okay. First is, I think netting, I think I shared with you, a lot of KW teams that are top agents are probably not as profitable as you think they are.
Right.
And then secondly is netting, if it is a really profitable business, even 25 to 35% is considered really good, which means they're grossing about 3 million or 4 million, which means their production is probably like 120 to 160 million dollars in volume. And that's pretty admirable amount of business. That would, like you said, put you in the top 3, if not the top person in your space. And that's a lot of units where you're at. But yeah, I would say, obviously, in order to get there, it's not just yourself. It probably doesn't involve a supporting cast. But you already know this with KW's training. The person that controls the listings will drive all the business. The buyers will all come to you, even though open houses might be a bit slow right now. But yeah, I guess what would you say is, you said, you know, yesterday when you texted me, you said that you weren't too sure, like you're not realizing your full potential. Clearly you've maybe visualized a little bit about what that looks like, but I guess what's holding you back?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know how to build a business like building the business in terms of like what does good leverage look like? I mean, I've taken career visioning once so far, but
Who was the teacher?
It was
Who taught it? Tony Brody?
No, it was it's a female out from San Diego, Ashley Leung.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so she was actually really good. And I think Dan Holt.
What's your takeaway from it?
The process is long.
Intentionally.
But then you fire you could fire really quick. Yeah, fire quick.
At least in principle, you should.
Right. Yeah.
I'll teach you some of the things that. So my favorite person to learn it from is from Ben Kenny, and you probably know of him in the KW world.
Yeah.
He doesn't really teach it anymore, but if he does, it's usually in Bellingham, and he donates 100% of the proceeds, which is, you know, another topic. But I think I shared with you the most important part that I took away from his class was how he just, throughout his career, even to this day, after starting place with Chris Suarez and recruiting teams now, is how can he incrementally remove himself from the business based on $1 per hour. What that also requires is his self-analysis of what he's doing and which task is the highest dollar per hour. And one of the stories that he shared that Deborah's heard before, but it's been a while since I kind of re-shared it, is the concept of, if you were to be put anywhere in the nation and you needed to start a business and you were given a phone and a phone book, do you believe you'd be able to land a listing appointment every day? Did I share this with you before?
No.
Okay. So the story is Ben's talking to Gary Keller.
Mhm.
And Gary asks him, hey, Ben, if I give you a phone and a phone book and I placed you anywhere in the nation, do you think you'd have the skills to be able to book a listing appointment every day that you work? So 5 days a week.
Mhm.
And how much business would that be? A lot, a little?
A lot.
And how much money would you make?
A lot of money.
And what he shared was Gary laughed because we're thinking about it the wrong way. We might think it's a lot of business and a lot of money, but it's actually not. What if instead the exercise of the phone in the phone book was not to find a listing appointment, but to find someone that could book a listing appointment for you every day?
Mhm.
How much bigger would your business and your world be if instead of prospecting for leads, we had people prospect for leads for us?
Mhm.
But that also, there's a lot of ambiguity in there, like, oh, well, what's running through our mind is, well, we need to be qualified to lead these
Mhm.
people. We need to, have systems. We need to have
Mhm.
supporting cast to support these
Mhm.
agents. That is all true. But if the concept makes sense, then the only thing that's holding us back from getting there is probably just the act of doing what we believe and we know it works. So
Mhm.
even I fall in traps, right? I'm stuck in the weeds in my business. I will admit that. I'm still taking listings. It's still one of the most profitable things from my time. But if I'm doing that, I'm not finding the next agent to do that.
Mhm.
So as long as the concept makes sense, you can dumb it down to and get more specific to the specific people you need in your business.
Mhm.
And we all know the first hire is always an executive assistant, not necessarily a VA, not a buyer's agent, not a showing agent. And the reason why is you need to be able to delegate everything you shouldn't be doing. And the value to your ISA in the future is their ability to delegate to the EA as well, to your supporting
Mhm.
staff.
Mhm.
Because how are you going to justify a lower split? Let's say you find Brendan Blankenship Jr. right now,
Mhm.
and he adopts your mentality of video. You guys value the same things, and he's willing to work hard, and he has good character. He cares for people. Whatever your values are for your team that you align with. How can you support him?
Mhm.
You can support him with your time. Obviously, they need training, or he needs training.
Mhm.
You can support him with leads, but that's probably not your only value proposition.
Mhm.
It's really going to come down to, in the day-to-day, you're going to support him, or it could be her, by making sure they're leveraged.
Mhm.
So until you are the living proof of that, you probably are going to have a harder time recruiting and training your next agent that's going to join you.
Mhm.
You might come across people that are going to say, hey, look, Brendan, I like the way you do things. I like your videos. Can you teach me? Are
Mhm.
you growing your team? We're all tempted to say yes, but we're recruiting them to
Mhm.
a business that might not completely be there, which is fine. But that
Mhm.
means you need to move fast, right? You need to move fast in the way that you need to show that person that you can continue supporting them and that the
Mhm.
business is continually growing.
Mhm.
And your world, their world fits within yours. Yours is growing and getting bigger and bigger. And I think Gary is living proof of that. His world
Mhm.
just got bigger that it could fit 180,000 agents.
Mhm.
How can we figure out the first one? Like, it took
Mhm.
me a while too, so don't worry. You're probably gonna, by your year 2, year 3, you're probably gonna exceed what I exceed, or what I produce, and how far along I was. But I think that's the general concept of it.
So, like, when you say that in terms of like, okay, if agents like come up to me and stuff like, hey, like, how do you do X, Y, and Z? Do I like, what do I do? Like, do I share, like, or
Yeah,
do I like, I don't, yeah, I don't get it.
yeah, um, that's gonna happen, and of course you would share. And I think as you continue to grow your business, you'll start to realize that your time is the most valuable thing. I mean, once you have a family, once you have more obligations in your personal life, you
Mhm.
can't just help every single person that approaches you. You
Mhm.
just don't have time for it. where it gets to a point where you can, maybe it fulfills you, right? It gives you a sense of accomplishment, and maybe there's reciprocity there. You help this person, eventually this person writes your review, eventually this person refers to you, kind of like me. Like, I don't know anyone in Chicago, but now that I'm talking to you, you're top of mind, right? So there's going to be natural benefits from it. But I think the key thing that I also learned from Ben is he is so purposeful with his time, purposeful to the extent that he calculates everything he does as revenue. It's either revenue generating or expense cutting. It's one of those two. Once you grow a business, that's all you focus on. Yes, there's people involved, but a business focuses on profit, right? Especially our small practices. So what are you doing with your time that drives revenue? It's hard to correlate helping an agent with driving revenue, but maybe there's a future benefit to it. And that's why I think what we're trained on is what can we do today that drives revenue tomorrow? It's usually prospecting. It's usually follow-up. And then that's in the business. What about on the business? How can I make my life easier or my business easier or simpler to conduct so that my input today is unproportional to my output tomorrow? So I think a good example of that is your media, your YouTube channel, the pros and cons of the burbs in Chicago. That is a timeless evergreen video that is probably going to serve you for years to come until, let's say, you've gained so much more experience that you need to recreate that video, for example. So I'm always thinking about, what am I doing with my time today? Is it valuable, and should I delegate it? And secondly is, what can I be doing where I can multiply my time tomorrow? So for example, I'm just so happy that Deborah is able to join this, where maybe even it's just something that I say that helps her in her way of thinking to improve her business. But if I had to just talk to her, how much more time would I need to spend than versus right now I'm having just a genuine conversation with you and there's something that could be done from it. So just take Gary V's content strategy and how do you do it in the things that you do in the real estate business, not just in content. Like find ways to multiply yourself. And I think the best way to do it is eventually justifying a hire. And I can share with you how I went through it. But for the most part, I was over budget when I hired my first assistant.
What do you mean over budget? Like over budget in terms, like, so what's profitable? Because like my situation right now is like, I'm extremely profitable because I live at home. I mean, my business is pretty organic for the most part, agent referrals, YouTube and SOI. And like, I don't really track my finances, but I know I need to just see where I'm at. Like, I don't even know what my monthly breakdown is. Like,
don't worry.
Six figures already this year. It's just like, all right, how much do I really make a month kind of thing?
So there is a negative correlation between the bigger the business, the less profitable percentage wise you are. The numeric should grow. The percentage probably will go down because right now it's everything requires your time. But if you want your time back, which is more valuable than money itself, I think everyone would agree, life is too short for you to work all the hours that you could. Even Gary says, if you're working 80 hours a week, you're cheating yourself, right? So a profitable business doesn't necessarily, for the most part, consider your personal expenses. So let's set your personal expenses aside. Let's just isolate your business. Do you remember the percentages in the Red Book? The economic model?
No.
Okay, which is fine. The economic model suggests that of your GCI, 10% goes towards marketing or less, 15% goes towards salaries or less. Cost of sales is usually about 35 to 40%. Cost of sales is what you pay your agents.
Right.
So those are your three big expense items. One's variable and two are fixed. The first two are fixed. The variable one is cost of sales. You don't pay an agent unless they produce. So that's variable. Doesn't happen until later. But what you're going to have fixed is your marketing and then your salaries. So for example, if your business is a $1 million GCI business, which is how many units in your area?
I mean, it can depend. So let's just say my average price point is 350, 2.5%. That's 7,500. I don't know, a lot of units, over 100. I mean, my price
Yeah.
point's like weird. I'd probably say it's high, it's like low 4, high 3 right now.
Okay. So 350,000, 2.5%. Well, 1 mil GCI is typically going to be about every 40 million at 2.5% is 1 mil GCI.
Okay.
So $40 million. And then divide that by, it's almost 100 transactions, right? Or a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
over.
little over.
Okay. So once you get there, your budgets look like, number one, you should be spending $150,000 in salaries. You could probably have 2 to 3 highly skilled support staff at that point.
Mhm.
Number two is your marketing spend is 100,000 or less. Marketing spend includes your videographer, your editor, your own time, right? Coming up with ideas. Let's say you start farming your postcards. It all adds up to be about $100,000. If you're spending less than that, you're underspending for the size of your business. If you're
Mhm.
overspending that, that means you're either growing, or if you're not growing, you're overspending on something that doesn't work.
Mhm.
Now, cost of sales, how does that work? You have to, just like I do, look at the MREA model of how to compensate a buyer's agent and how to compensate a listing agent.
Mhm.
So the challenge of you in your position right now is you have a salesperson's hat on and you
Mhm.
are everything. But you have to start separating what you do as a business owner that makes, let's say, 25 to 35% profit
Mhm.
versus the sales agent when you're doing sales agent activities. So what does that
Mhm.
look like? When you list and sell a property, you should pay yourself fairly as a listing agent, but also look at it from a profit margin of being an owner, of how you're
Mhm.
paying yourself as a listing agent. The
Mhm.
reason why is, let's say one day you scale your business to a point where you delegate the listings. Is what you're compensating yourself right now as a listing agent fair and reasonable, and will keep someone like Brandon as a listing agent?
Mhm.
Make sense? And then as a buyer's agent, are you paying yourself 50-50? If you started a team today, you have 5 agents, how would you compensate them? The way that you compensate them is the same way that you should be compensating yourself now, because everything you do should be scalable so
Mhm.
that when that actually does happen, you don't even have to change the way you operate. It's already
Right.
appropriately created.
So if I'm compensating
So
myself in a
you,
way, if I'm compensating myself in a way that if I had someone on a team, if I were listing property where, let's say, I don't know, let's just say 50-50, easy numbers. Where's the other 50 go? That the other 50 would go to me hypothetically, or as the business owner, right?
yep. I'll show you some rough math, and hopefully this will be a super helpful visual. Let me know when you see my screen.
I see it.
Okay, cool. So let's just punch some numbers here, because I think this is super helpful, especially if you're running your own business. So
Right.
let's say you want to get to the $100 million mark. That is per transaction is 350,000 is fair.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay. So this is total volume. This is price per transaction. And then let's just do total transactions equals obviously this divided by this. So that's actually 285 transactions. Do you want
Jesus.
me to scale it down? I can
Yeah.
scale it down to our scenario. So let's do 40 millions instead.
Yeah. Do 40 million.
So that's about 114 transactions.
Mhm.
Now let's do some math. Realistically, is that 50-50 listings and buyers? Or do you think it's going to be heavier buyers?
Probably heavier buyers.
Okay, so give me a ratio. How many is buyers? How many is
I
listings?
would say I'm probably 40-60 right. Let's just go. Well, I'm 40-60 right now.
So 60 is buyers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this equals this times 0.6. Okay, and seller transactions, this equals this times 0.4. Okay, so we have some round numbers here. I'll make this visually easier. So it rounds up. Okay, so let's assume you're running this business right now. You know how to calculate cost of sales, and then the remaining balance after cost of sales is your operating budget that you could calculate. So you ready? Okay. So I'm going to calculate this for you real quick. So let's just go on the side here. Let's say you give your agents 50-50 on all buyers, and that it averages out throughout the whole team. There could be an agent that does 24 of these 69 transactions, and the rest are done by like 5 other agents. Let's just make it, as that example. So cost of sales on buyers and cost of sales on sellers. Sellers is a different model. It really depends how you want to run it, but let's give this as an example. So buyer transactions is 69 transactions times your average price times 0.025. That is your total commission, right? So it's $600,000 is coming from your buyer transactions.
Okay.
But because you're giving 50% away, $300,000 is going towards your agents representing those 69 transactions. Now, whether you represent 5, 10, 15, you're added in there. Now you see why it's important to separate your own pay as a buyer agent compared to you as the owner, because this is how you're compensating them. Make sense?
So like if you were doing like 2 or 5 deals, you would just give yourself 50% and the other 50% goes to the business kind of thing?
You got it. So let's calculate both. This is cost of sales buyers. The next one is going to be revenue to company is the remaining balance, which is this. Well, it's just the difference between 600,000 minus this, right? So it's just 300,000. Now, sellers. How does KW teach you to compensate listing agents? Do you know?
I don't. Well, I've seen it, but I don't know, like top of my head.
It's actually salaries plus a bonus.
Okay.
So we'll just do a rough example. This is not the best practice, but this is one example. So your sellers, which is 46 transactions times your average price times 0.025, that gives us $400,000. But listing agents tend to make a salary plus a percentage of the deal. On our team, for example, let's say that's 20%. 20% is $80,000 goes towards cost of sales. This is buy, sell, which means the remaining balance is 400,000, right? Minus 80,000, the comma, is $320,000 goes towards revenue towards the company.
Where does that revenue towards the what is that used for? Like you don't touch that, right? Or do you touch that? Or do you give yourself a salary?
Question. Let's add it together right now. So what you're paying your agents is $380,000, and what is company dollar becomes $620,000. Now let's do some quick math here. Total GCI equals obviously 40 or 4 million times 0.025. Oops. That's $1 million, right? So as you can see, your total cost of sales, if you had a listing agent that's being compensated 20%, and if you had a buyer team that's getting compensated 50%, which adds up to 300,000, 380,000 divided by 1 million in fraction is 38% is cost of sales. You see that? So now you have an equation where if you tweak the numbers and you're paying your listing agents more than 20%, or you're paying your buyer agents more than 50%, your cost of sales number percentage is going to go up. I would say a healthy team and number where you can fully delegate all your leads, it's probably going to sit around 35 to 40%. If you're giving more away, that means your splits are probably too aggressive. Because here's the other thing. company dollar is 620,000. Remember the other big math items, salaries is 15%, and marketing is 10%. So if we just do quick math, the million times 0.15, we talked about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are your budgets for your marketing and your salaries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of the salaries is also your listing agent that you're giving a salary plus the bonus.
Okay.
Part of your salaries is also your executive assistant, or maybe at that time, you have a listing coordinator and a closing coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of fiddle with the numbers based on the size of business, and you'll kind of know what you'll need to budget out to be able to compensate people.
So is this model like kind of like based off like if you weren't in the business anymore? Is this you participating in the business still?
Great question. You participate in the business in two ways, right? You can be a buyer agent or do listings or both, where part of this income, cost of sales, is going towards yourself in your own pocket, being the salesperson. And you're also the business owner, because if we anticipate profits at 25%, for example, that means you want to obviously have $250,000 of profit. And that's not including if you pay yourself as an agent representing buyers and sellers. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we aim for 25% profit, which in this scenario is $250,000. What do we have remaining? Right? Let's just type remaining expenses. It's basically this million minus your salaries, minus your marketing, minus your total cost of sales is 370,000. But of the 370,000, 250 should be your 25% profit. So your remaining balance is actually going to be 120,000 goes towards your rents, your auto payments, your insurance, miscellaneous office items, your printer at home. You kind of get where I'm going here.
Mm-hmm.
Because you factor in your three biggest expense items,
Mm-hmm.
which is cost of sales, marketing, and salaries. As long as you have, as long as you're in economic model in line for where your business is at for those three, everything else is probably a small expense item, and you can work your way towards, let's say, a 25% profit margin.
How about taxes? Was that like, does this involve taxes?
This is all pre-taxes.
Okay.
And then nowadays, you bring up a really good point, is it gets to a point where you chase volume and chase production, and you're going to have years of high earning, high taxes. And then what you're going to want to focus on at that point is, how can I have tax deferred or tax exempted dollars so I can reinvest that in real estate, in crypto, in the stock market, in dividend paying stocks, whatever you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first step is understanding the team model, the numbers, how you can build it. And then as you get to that stage and you just gradually get to an annual higher and higher floor of consistent business, you'll be more confident to start working on different things such as your tax strategy, because you have to, because you're going to be paying a lot of taxes.
Right.
Let's go deeper into this and then, ask any questions. Salaries. In this business, if we allocate $150,000 in salaries, you tell me, in your area, how much does it cost to get a, let's say, 1 or 2 year experienced executive assistant?
I would probably say like 50 to 60.
Okay, let's take the middle number, 55,000.
Okay.
Who else do you think is the next most important supporting staff member, just from what you know?
Is the EA like your admin? That's your admin, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, TC?
TC could be per transaction, right?
Yeah.
Per transaction, how much is a TC in your area?
It's probably around like 350 per transaction, I would say.
Is it different between type of transaction?
No, it's pretty flat for buyer and seller. I would just say 350 is
Okay,
the median between the both.
awesome. So here you go. Part of your $150,000 budget, 40,000 goes towards CC. And it's just the math, 114 times 350.
That's 40K. That's crazy.
I know, right? That's why it makes sense for you to take a dual role. Your second EA might be a TC plus your marketing coordinator, for example,
Mhm.
right? You have to be, and you know this, you have to be a little more frugal and two birds, one stone type of business mentality as you're scaling because you don't have that big of a budget.
Mhm.
How much do you think a marketing coordinator costs?
30K.
Let's just say the TC, if they were independent, helping you with 114 transactions, they'd make 40K. But if that same TC likes the way that you run business, Brendan, and aligns with your values, let's say they're also your marketing coordinator. And let's say you would pay them $60,000 to do both jobs. Would you think that's pretty fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And what we have remaining is 35,000. Let's just say there's two roles, right? There's going to be a listing coordinator, or sorry, the listing agent role that you're paying on salary, like very small salary, because they're making bonuses. Because they're already making 80K if they're the main listing agent taking the 46 listings. So how much, and very likely at this stage in business, the listing agent is going to be you.
So the listing, if that's me, so that 80,000 right there, I'm giving myself a salary, so that's kind of in my pocket as well, right? If I'm listing.
Correct. So let's say listing agent in this scenario is you're making this 80K as cost of sales because you're paying yourself 20%. And whatever that remaining balance is of 150 minus these two roles. So you're giving yourself a fixed 35,000 plus 80,000, but you're also the owner and you're profiting 25% of it. Make sense? This is a very likely scenario that you'll be in when you hit 114 transactions.
Right. How many buyer agents is that? Do you think? It doesn't matter. I mean, I feel like that's like 3 or 4 buyer agents. Maybe 3.
I think so too. In our area, I would say your average buyer agent is probably going to do somewhere between 12 to 24 12 to 24 transactions. Yeah. To at least make a living, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to make a living.
So let's just do some rough math. Let's say a buyer agent, I'm going to put on the side. Per transaction is 350,000 times a person that's doing 12 of these transactions times 0.025 times 0.5. This buyer agent that does 12 transactions is making $52,500.
How do you retain? I think that's the biggest thing. Is like how, like everyone says, like the turnover is like 2 years, but like how do you maintain? Like how do you retain that talent? Like do you fix your splits or?
So there's many ways to kind of be able to retain. I think Deborah probably could give a unique take because she's a team member, right? Not a team leader at this moment. We're not playing a managerial role in our business where maybe she gets like a bonus on salary or monthly pay for her leadership, right? For the most part, a lot of people are looking for a couple things, and it's not just compensation. I'll give you maybe a hint. Brandon, why are you at KW?
The people.
The people? What else?
The training.
Training.
And I think for what I understand is that the cap, or I mean like I like the capping. I like earning 100%.
The compensation. And on a team, it's also going to be the lead flow that you don't necessarily have to generate yourself because the team is probably generating a fair amount of business. For example, our team generates about 75% of all closings.
Okay.
I would say if it leans towards only 50%, you're going to have some turnover. If it leans too heavily towards 90%, your agents are not working.
What do you mean not working? Like 90%, like you're giving them 90% of their business?
So if you had to hypothetically look at this 114 units that you closed this year, what percentage of those were generated by the team, the listings that you have, the marketing that you're putting out versus your agent's sphere, your agent's working, your agent's cold calling, your agent's door knocking? So usually that ratio is probably going to be between like 60 to 75%. If it leans less than that, then your team is not providing enough leads to sustain. If it's too heavy, like 90% is team driven, then your agents are probably not working.
Like not working in terms of seeking out their own business?
Correct.
Okay.
But yeah, to your question of retaining, you mentioned it right there. It's training, it's the people you're surrounding yourself with. Part of it is compensation. And it really is usually your team's ability to help these agents focus on the highest dollar producing task. Because you have an executive assistant and a TC marketing coordinator that's helping take certain things off your agent's plate so that they can solely focus on serving the client. And now you can kind of see as you scale this, because your budget for salaries grow and your budgets for marketing grows, you're naturally going to generate more business because your marketing is getting bigger. And you're naturally going to be retaining your talents because your talented agents, because you're taking more and more off their plate because you're supporting them with your staff. The culture is held by your staff members because in some ways, unfortunately, I'm an agent myself, but I'm going to say this. Every agent is technically dispensable. Even you, think about it. You want to get out of production, or at least a lot of KW teams that built their team, they want to get out of production. That's the goal. So if you build the right business that's supporting you, Brandon, as a team lead, but also the agent, you are dispensable.
Dispensable. So like is your model right now, like let's say your model looks like this, but you have a listing agent. Let's just say like, all right, like you're giving all the buyer leads, like done. Maybe you're doing like 2 buyers a year per family or something, or I don't know, like under 5 or whatever. Let's just not even say that you're just handing them. Let's say like 100% you're off this model. Like, okay, boom, your buyers are doing that, your listing agents doing that. Regardless, you're walking away profit $250,000 without doing anything in the biz, like working in the business, but you're just working like on in terms of like growing your team and like building them up and making them better kind of thing, right?
That is the best 10 out of 10 outcome that you would come to expect. But I think what you'll realize as you get to this stage and you'll grow past it is it's still partly wishful thinking. Because if you're not there, so many of these people are there because of you, Brandon, that if you're not there in the day-to-day with them, sometimes they feel like they still might feel lost. So I think it's to expect nothing to change over a year, 2 years, 3 years for you just to retain a business like this is probably also unrealistic. You working on a business and thinking about it and how you can better the lives of the people in your business, it will probably retain your people, where this is a ever-changing type of equation of people, of budgets, etc., and where you're spending. But this is like a really good scenario to be in, right? It's much better than being a solo agent, like crushing it, but spending 80 hours in a business. It's also much better than running a big business, but it's not profitable because you're spending way too much to get that business.
So what's the perfect balance in terms of like profitability, you think, and like just time, like just like a normal person, like maybe working below 40 hours a week, like 20 hours a week?
I think maybe the question could be better asked. If you were to only spend 20 hours a week, how can you maintain a business like this? What would you be doing with your time if it was only 20 hours? I think it's tied to lead gen. I think it's tied to recruiting and also tied to training.
Coaching?
Exactly. If you're doing those three things, it doesn't mean you're serving the client. It doesn't mean you're going on consultations, right? But you're running the business basically. So any business that's scaled out, they're doing really one thing. They're allocating capital and human capital, which is time.
Mhm.
When you lead a business, you're masterminding around where are your people spending their time and where are you spending your money.
Mhm.
Spend too much money, you're not profitable. Spend too much time and it's not productive, you hire too many people that are useless, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And, you know, not really good examples are tech companies that are all driven by revenue, not profit, and they are looking at a growth number. But we, small business, need to be for profit. So everything we do needs to be centered around how can we make sure we run a good model so that we can be profitable? Otherwise, why would it be worth it?
That makes sense.
What will we be teaching our agents and the people in our lives of why we live a big life on social media, but don't make jack shit?
Right. Yeah, I think
And
that's the crazy thing too. This business is weird from what I've noticed the past year and a half in terms of like, people post their GCIs and stuff like that. But like, I know that I'm way more profitable than a lot of agents just because I have like low expenses and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, like it's like,
that is the trap we talked about yesterday. The trap is society teaches us to talk about units and volume and GCI, but hey, be transparent, bro. How much did you pocket? No one's going to tell
right,
you that.
right.
I mean, for the right reasons, right? If they're making a lot of
Right,
money, they don't want to tell you. It's their
right,
it's their earnings. But also, if they run a business that is ugly on paper, they don't want to tell you either.
right, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hopefully this calculation is helpful.
It is. Yeah, it isn't to see like just the $1 million GCI. I mean, I don't know. It'd be cool. Like if like I see, I find myself in this trap too. I mean, I talk to our OP probably once every other month and stuff like that. I mean, he's built a great business. He's built up our market center, like incredibly great leadership. But I look at it, it's like, all right, last year I did 20 sides. If I do 30 to 40 sides this year, what's next? You know what I mean? It's like, what do I do? Like, it's like I'm not going backwards. I don't want to go. That's not me. I don't go backwards. Like,
so
but the market's different too. So it's like, all right, I gotta be like conservative. Like my conservative number, I'll do 30 sides this year. Conservative. I'm at like 20 right now. I'll probably do 30 sides this year. Let's just say.
this is telling me, if my math is correct, if a really good or not a really good, but a 1 to 2 year experienced executive assistant costs 55,000, you can fully afford that person's salary if it's 10% of your, or sorry, 15% of your budget. No wonder it's a little off. 15% of your budget if you did about
$15 million.
15 million.
Okay, so I'll probably do around like it depends on like what kind of price points I hit. I mean, I'm so skewed in terms of like I have an average price point, but I'll do transactions that are decent price, but and then like my demographic is first time buyers, so maybe they're purchasing 250 to 4. So it's skewed, but I'd probably do like 11 this year.
The other thing I'll share is you are hiring for growth as well. You are making business decisions for growth.
Mhm.
I know it's scary because if it was, I mean, you'd be over budget, right? If you hired at
Right,
11 million of a projection for a 12-month period.
right.
But you do have to take risk if you're looking to grow. Just like you spending more time now than in the past to get more transactions. Same concept. It's just more money as well.
Mhm.
But how do you know you had the right hire? You know you have the right hire when your business runs more smoothly and you're focused on the right activities. If you still feel like you're getting bogged down by certain things that you struggle with or you shouldn't be doing, you probably need to have a conversation with your hire, or you probably have the wrong person if you don't feel comfortable delegating. The right person will make it so that when you delegate, they are ready and willing and do it at a much better level than you do, especially if it's operational stuff. Because we'd like to think, and you got to this point because you've been producing, you've done everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're good at everything. And as long as that concept makes sense and you hire someone that is more task oriented than people oriented, I think you've made the right hire. And don't make the mistake that most people make. They hired a person that wants to be an agent, but wants to be your assistant for a year or 2 years. 9 times out of 10, that person's going to jump into production sooner than you had anticipated or they had shared with you. And guess what? You start from 0 because you have to find that EA again.
Right.
What's the next step for Brendan? What do you think it is?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's kind of scary. I mean, like, I've been told like the struggle for an agent between like, from what I've heard from like other top agents, they're just like, oh yeah, like around here they always say that like, okay, like the struggle for an agent, like a top agent to get to like 6 to 8 mil a year is lead gen, and then to like past 10 to 15 mil it's systems. So like I think right now is like lead gen's fine. I can lead gen, like that's whatever for me. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, all right, where do I take this? Like I like living here, like 20 mil a year lives a pretty good life.
Yeah, for sure. Especially cost of living is probably relative to where the housing prices are and
Right.
everything else. I'll give you our main pillars in our business. Number one, absolute number one on the listing side is farming and postcards.
Do you think
And
I should
that
postcards?
drives, hell yes.
Really?
Start with 1,000. Okay, so if you were a new agent on my team and you're like, hey, I know to join the team, I need a farm. Here's what I would do. I would not use USPS to begin with. I would find a local printer that's willing to give you a deal. If you tell them, hey, look, if I commit to 12 months of 1,000 flyers, will you give me a discount? They'll say yes. In that flyer, you just have market stats, you have a picnic coming up that you're hosting, you have some local information about the neighborhood or the city you serve, and you spend your time canvassing and saying hi to every single neighbor you come across. And you do that for 3 months until you justify to yourself that I've been consistent enough in my own farm with my own time that now I can justify spending money on USPS to mail it for me. And once you do 1,000, eventually within the 6 to 12 months of doing it, or hopefully sooner, you'll get a couple of listing calls. Now, in anticipation of those listing calls, you're going to improve your listing presentation. And to this day, I still look on ways that I can tweak and improve every single part of my listing, because that's the highest dollar per hour in the business job. If you do 1,000 and you get a couple calls, guess what? You've proven to yourself that if you could do it for 1,000 and get results, you can do it for 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, the whole city, I don't know, 20,000, that suburb that you serve. Guess how big of a business that alone you will generate on the listing side if you were consistent for 10, 20,000 addresses and you get even just a 1% market share. Now, the difficulty for you to think about is probably going to be, dang, Wilson, 10,000 addresses times 12 times a month times, let's say 45 cents per piece. That's a fair amount of money. That's why I start with 1,000, stay within your budget of 10%, whatever that looks like for your production. And of course, just like salaries, keep in mind, you're in growth mode. Maybe you do need to spend a little bit more now. Maybe it's, sacrificing some personal things that you could buy or invest in to invest in your business, basically.
So maybe
that's on the listing side.
Add farming as a pillar. I want to get more listing dominant. I think there's a lot of market share, especially because like I'm like one of the youngest producers in the county. So like the older agents that like have the market share probably get lazy right now. And then there's those like agents that like do already like 10 to 15 mil a year consistently that are like middle-aged people. They're like, okay, like this is the time where we can surpass. So like I'm in that mode where it's like, all right, like I should probably postcard, but I'm too like in my head and like what do I send, I guess.
Yeah. I think what you need is probably just accountability where you commit to someone and say, hey, look, by this day, every calendar month, I would have sent my 1,000 postcards, which means you would have designed it, you would have selected a vendor to print it, and you would have gone out to your farm. And you would be wasting money. So it feels bad if you don't pass it out.
I'm passing out, I'm not mailing it.
Well, I think in the beginning, you want to spend more time than you do money.
Okay.
Because I think it's double benefit. You're getting your name recognition and postcard across, and you're singling it out by putting it in front of the door. Secondly, is you're creating conversations with the people you just naturally come across.
It's cold here. We gotta remember that it gets cold here in the winter. So I ain't knocking in December.
Which means you have a shorter period to do it, and maybe it gives you a reason to spend more money during the winter season.
So mail during the
Instead of
winter
the time.
maybe, and then like mail during the winter, and then like if I see a month that if I can track a month like when we exit out March, and like I can see like okay, your trajectory for like May is like warm-ish, or I can just wear a jacket, like it's worth it. I do it.
Yes, and the less time that it is feasible to be out there, the less likely your competition is going to do something about it, which makes
What
it
do you mean?
even better for you. So
What do you
let's
mean?
say you tell me 4 of the 12 months in a year, you can absolutely not farm because it's way too cold, it snows, everyone's snowed in, whatever it looks like. That also is the 4 same months that no one else can do it. So it's an even playing field. So you want to look at it as such that you take every opportunity you can during the 8 months, for example, that you can actually be out there and be in your farm. Now that's on the listing side. The number one thing after the listing side that you're going to be working on is 2 things. I don't think Deborah's heard me say this before. It's 2 things, but we combine the 2. It's social proof and social media. Social media is Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. It's media. It literally is. It's people you don't know on YouTube, people you might know on LinkedIn, people you do know, and some you don't know on Instagram and Facebook. You might be asking, Wilson, what the heck is social proof? Social proof is Yelp, Google, Zillow, places that people review and write testimonials for you.
Right.
You want to be as searchable as possible for your own name, but eventually for the area you serve.
So search social proof is just like Yelp, Google. Look me up on Google. Share your screen. I want to see it. Share your screen.
All right. Okay.
Just try doing my name first. I'm curious from what it looks like from California. Also, my Sierra Madre profile. That's me when I did like real estate for like 3 months in California. How about type in Glen Ellen real estate agent? That's like my main. ELLYN.
Like that?
No, ELL. Glen. No space or G. Oh, that one.
Oh, there we go.
Right there.
Well, yeah, it's going to be very difficult for you to rank here unless it's one of your videos.
How about Glen Ellen, Illinois real estate?
There you are, number 2.
Number 2 right now.
Check this out. I'm going to do incognito real quick. So let me share my incognito. So I'm going to type in South San Francisco. Just the city, see what comes up. So videos are not here. Let's see, realtor. our location is actually in Millbrae, so ours is not going to come up. So maybe that's not a good example. But I know on Yelp, we organically rank #1.
Is
But if
Yelp
you
good?
search
I don't
Davis
use
City,
Yelp. Should I use Yelp?
Yelp was started in in San Francisco, so that's why it's big amongst ourselves. But
Oh, okay.
here's one of our videos that I was asking you for some advice and feedback on. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's not so much being #1 on SEO for the area you serve. People are going to be referencing your marketing and searching your name. So as long as you pop up, you probably want to do a much better job in your Google profile. And then of course I'm not local, so maybe that's why it's not picking up your Google profile in your area. But as long as you rank #1, like I advertise on my own name, and we have 2 websites, so both my websites pop up and Yelp comes up, and of course the profiles on the side here. I'm sure if I change my location to where you're at and I search your name, it should be fairly obvious that you rank high for your name. Because if that's the branding that you're putting out there, the other branding that we're doing is Own Real Estate, which is our brokerage name. As long as we rank high for the things that people would search when they're trying to do research on us, I think we're good. So
that makes sense.
yeah. But yeah, I would say first is your farm, second is your social proof and your social media. And then third is really just everything else, just fair.
What do you mean social media?
Social media. So let me give you an example. So this is, I'll show you something that might be helpful for you. So I'll show you our calendar or our team meeting. So as an outsider, you usually don't see stuff like this, but here's our meeting on a weekly basis. In our meeting, we always talk about our team stats, but at the end of it, we talk about our content calendar. So what's going out, let's see, this is even old too. So let me find, this is for next week.
So do you do that? Do you create that, or your EA does that for you?
So if you are in the department, you work on it for the team agenda. So this was the marketing coordinator that puts this together. So she manages our team page, my personal, team, personal, YouTube, Google, and email. And of course, Instagram syncs to Facebook, so it goes there too. But I think we have probably a little over a month of content pre-planned out already. And for the most part, it's fairly easy for her to do her job because she has everything she needs. And this is aside from our creatives now documenting what they're shooting and editing for the week as well. So it should be much heavier because we have so many agents, but you know, not everyone is willing to be in front of a camera.
Right, for sure.
On a team. But yeah, I didn't have this level of organization for most of my career. So don't feel like you have to have that, but focus on the main pillars of lead gen for your business. Then eventually you can put your foot off the gas pedal because your systems run the lead gen and you need to start focusing on training and recruiting and retaining your people. And eventually your staff serve. So there's 2 parts of the business. I say it's pre-signature and post-signature. Pre-signature is marketing. Pre-signature is all your agents. Post-signature, it's all our staff. It's a closing coordinator. It's a listing coordinator. It's an escrow TC person. And there's 2 departments really. So
that makes sense.
But yeah, why focus on those? Farming means you'll have consistent business in the future for listings. Social proof means that you'll always rank high for the reasons you want to rank high. And that's not going to change, right? Unless you do something wrong, but that's not going to happen. And those are compounding outputs. Your input of writing or encouraging a past client to write today is going to forever be a 5-star review for your profile that ranks you high for the reasons you want to rank high forever. So farming is your postcard you send today is starting to build the rapport and relationship you're looking to build with that homeowner in that affluent neighborhood or whatever neighborhood you want to target.
What does your
Um,
postcard look like? Do you make them every month? Your marketing coordinator makes them every month on Canva then, or?
Yep, they do. Let me show you. Um,
Because I figure I should do. I mean, I should dish some money if I can get a, you know, if I can do like, even if I did a listing for 1 year for like this year, it'd probably pay for it myself for my year of postcards.
so here's 3 of the most recent ones we did. First is we send this to absentees. Own your options. Should you keep your investment or should you sell it? And then it's just really a low, like indirect ask. It's not saying that they have to list.
Mhm.
Before the slowdown, we had options to buy before you sell, whether it's bridge loans or, you know, home light trade-in program that they could
Mhm.
qualify for. And then we share a testimonial and, you know, that we're approved to work with them on that. The other
Mhm.
one was, obviously, this is not very story brand, but I think it's proof that, hey, look, if you're number 1 in this area and you have stats to back it up, that we probably should give you a call if I was a consumer. But we used to do, we remodel, you profit, no upfront costs.
Mhm.
As is price, we spent this much, we sold for this, how much we increase profits for our seller, before and after photos.
So how many postcards are you sending a month right now, you think?
I think just to give you the high level numbers, we send 18,000 every door direct, which 15 of the 18,000 is owner occupied. We mail to absentees, which is 3,000 in South City, I think about 4,000 in Daly City, and then about maybe 2,000, 2,500 in San Bruno. So that is roughly 18,000 plus maybe 8,000. So that's like 26,000 addresses per month. And then we have signed and sold over 45 listings so far year to date. And then of course our price points are a little higher. So our average price for listings, surprisingly this year, has been around 1.4.
Mhm.
So half of our business so far of 100 mil that we've closed is listings.
Can I see the second postcard again?
This one.
Not the absentee one, yeah. Okay, so you do like a buy before you sell. What do you usually put on the bottom? Is that the back? That page 2 is that the back of yours, like every single time, or how do you usually do it?
Yep, this is the back. This is the back of this one. Sometimes we have our events, so none of
Oh,
these
okay.
have the event. Yeah, like in the
Like in the
top
events in
here,
that white
sometimes
area?
fall. Hmm.
Like
Like a
what's in
recent
that
one we
what's in
did.
that white space? What's in that white space you usually put right there?
It's where they put the USPS puts whatever they need to
Oh
put
yeah,
there.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, here's a dual. Well, this is a bifold. So this is one that we handed out in person. 8.5 by 11. The front is our own community scan to join our
That's
events.
cool.
On the other side is we renovate, you profit. Inside is buy now, sell later, and then we have some stats as
Is this
proof
your
of
is
production.
this your is this your what's it called? This is your door knocking material right here. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, this is door knocking material. The
That's
easiest thing to
awesome.
say is knock, knock, knock. Hey, how's it going? My name's Wilson. I'm a local agent. I'm here to invite you to our upcoming picnic. Here's our QR code. If you can join, it's this day. Do you think you make it? You know, I know you have the flyer, you have the QR code, but I would love to keep in touch. Just in case I don't get this out in time, I want you to make sure to be invited to our future events. What's your name? My name's Wilson. Brendan, great. Hey, Brendan, what's your best email? Is it Gmail or Yahoo? Yahoo, okay, what is it? And then is it 650-415 for our local zip codes? And
Mm.
usually, if you're persistent, you should be able to. So the ratios we use, if you go out door knocking, 1/3 open, 1/3 will give you contact information.
See you, Deborah.
Yeah, so one in 9 people that sorry, 1 in 9 doors, you'll capture someone's contact information.
So I should probably knock. I don't like calling my spear. I don't call them. It just happens. Like, you know, social media, they just kind of flock, and I'll text people all the time, you know, whatever. But I feel like I should like I feel like there's opportunity for me since I'm so young to just dominate like a subdivision. And they want,
Yeah,
and I
I
have,
think
and I
so
have,
too.
so, and I have social proof right now. So it's not like they're just seeing me as a young guy without the social proof. It's like, hey, I can do it.
Um, I agree with you. And I think the only thing that's holding you back is first it starts with inaction, and then eventually it gets to consistent action,
Mhm.
right? Consistent action is hard to do. It will be easy if you believe what you're doing right now benefits your future and
Mhm.
it's aligned with going back to
What size
this.
postcard should what size postcard should I use?
So my tip is reach out to your local printer and say, hey, look, I'm doing 1,000 times 12. I'm going to scale that. I want to look for a vendor for life from my career. What does that mean for you? Consistent business, but also a consistent partner. What's the best pricing you can give me?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then don't guarantee it, but say, hey, look, I'm starting with 1,000 per month now. But one of my mentors out in the Bay Area, he does 20,000 per month. That's the scale I want to get to. And I'm looking for a partner. What's the best you can do for me right now?
Okay.
And see what they say.
Okay.
Leverage the fact that you're going to grow. I do that with all of our vendors. I do that with all of our agents when I'm recruiting them. Here's how it looks like. Vendors, hey, look, if you do well on this job, I'll give you the next 12 listings I got. Keeps them accountable. Keeps them truthful for their pricing too.
Mm-hmm.
The other is agents. Hey, look, this is where we're going. We are going to have 114 sides of business. I can't do it all. Do you want to be my partner? Now you're recruiting to something. This is your vision. How much bigger can it get, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should be a pretty clear path. The momentum starts when you hire your first assistant. At least it did for me, if it was the right person. And you'll start to see it working where you start to constantly think, best use of my time, highest dollar per hour, everything I need to delegate, everything I need to do myself. It will be easier than you think it is right now, my friend. Trust me.
It's crazy. This business is freaking crazy.
You're not far away. If
No,
I
I'm
had to
pretty far.
guess, if you apply this, I believe you can get to this equation right here. It's math equation. I believe you can get here in the next 24 months.
24 months.
Yep.
So I'd have to double next year pretty much. I'd probably have to go to
Just
20 and then go to from 20. I'd have to double. So I'd probably I'll probably double this year from last year. So I'll double this year and I've double next year to 24 mil. Then I double again to 40.
let's dumb it down. Let's not even think of 114. Let's
How do I
actually
get to
think
100?
of, well, even more. Like not dumb it down, but let's shorten the time span. Don't take my word for it. Although this is my guess. I think in 24 months, if we meet again, you should be on track, if not to exceed 114 transactions. What does that mean for 0 to 12 now and 13 to 24 later? Focus on the 0 to 12 now of what you need to accomplish within the next 12 months. It's a reset right now. Forget everything you've done so far this year. This is the year start right now. What do you need to implement in your business?
Okay.
Think about it that way. Like you're getting a head start now. Everyone thinks that January 1st, and we know in our industry, it's actually October 1st, but fuck it. Brandon is thinking about it July.
Right.
Fresh start now, you know? What does it look like if you were to build a new business right now with the knowledge you know?
All right. Freaking crazy, but okay.
Freaking crazy, but you're gonna do it. No pressure,
Yeah,
all right? It's just because you want it. You want to have a bigger business. Come on now.
No, I do. Yeah. It's just crazy. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, dude, there's just a lot. Like, I always look back at it. It's like, all right, like at 26, making 150, 200K a year, where I live, like that's pretty freaking good. Like, I couldn't go to a 9 to 5 and get paid that right now. But I'm not satisfied doing it. It's just like, what, like, this business is so weird. And then, like, if eventually, once I am making like 400K a year, it's like, oh, I'm tired, blah, blah. But like, hey, there's no 9 to 5 job that will ever pay me this in my life, which is the
Yeah.
crazy thing.
Have you heard of Ed Mylett before?
Yes, I know. Yeah, everyone talks about him. Yeah, he's like a motivational speaker, right?
Have you heard his YouTube video called Blissful Dissatisfaction?
No.
Check it out. That's where you're at.
Blissful dissatisfaction.
Yeah. You're in a blissful state because what you earn is probably going to be a fair amount and you can live comfortably or live, the way that you want to a certain extent. But you're dissatisfied because your potential is more than that. He talks about it in that podcast.
I'm about to listen to that. You're freaking right. Well, I literally just highlighted. I'm gonna listen. I'll listen to it like when I'm gonna listen to that today. No, it's crazy. I appreciate it, man.
Listen to it when you go out farming and you got your headset in. You're like, fuck, man, I gotta hit my farm today. I'm gonna go print flyers at the office.
So like, yeah, because I remember being in the clubhouse rooms. Even Andy would say farm. He said if you want to build a big business, like, or you want to build a sustainable business, a pillar should be farming. Because it's free. It's free at bats, and if you can convert, then you're getting 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
Bro, myself, Andy, Joe Frazano, you probably met on Clubhouse. These top listing agents that you personally know, we're just a phone call away. When you get that first, that 10th, that 50th listing call, by that time you don't need us. You know your niches in your market.
That's crazy. Jesus Christ.
Look at you, man. You're gonna be a top.
Business,
you gotta upgrade your office.
I know. This isn't even my office. I'm just saying the room. Dude, this stuff's crazy.
Hey man, you and me, we're still flipping YouTube videos now, all right?
Yeah, we are. But dude, so how much is your company making? How much volume do you guys do a year? Are you $1 million agent?
Last year we did over, so we did 181 million in volume.
So that 5 mil GCI?
Almost. It's like 4 point something mil GCI.
Bro, what the
and you just do the math that I shared with you.
So what was your profit on that?
Oh, it's within the percentages that I shared with you. And don't forget, right? I'm supposed to pay myself as a listing agent. I'm the team lead. Eventually my salaries encompasses, I need to pay myself a fair wage. In California, there's
Bro, what?
I forget what it is, but 20% benefit for paying yourself a salary for write-off. Oh, and the last thing I'll share with you that I've been sharing in public is last year I also bought a commercial property that gave me a write-off of $823,000, and I wrote it off my active income.
Wow.
See, you're gonna do that soon, man. Don't say wow. That's you, bro. People are gonna look up to you and be like, dude, Brendan, how do I do it?
Dude, that's crazy though. That's awesome. Like, dude, that's so crazy. Like, do you feel like it's a lot of money, or like, how do you feel? I don't even know how I would feel. I remember the very first time I had a 1 month last year where I made like $45,000 GCI, and that's like the most money I ever made. I never even made that money in a year, and I made it in a month. I looked at my mom and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
It just shows you what's possible. So we have a running joke on our team, and it's money's changed you, bro. For the most part, I still live the same lifestyle. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for 10 years of my life until 2 years ago, I bought my first house. But before that, my sister and I bought rental properties, and the last 2 years, every year I'm going to need a big write-off. So taking advantage of the tax code and what they allow, right? But for the most part, I'm not chasing volume anymore. I think if volume grows, my income grows, my net profit grows, and I can invest more. If I can invest more, my ultimate goal is not even net worth right now, is just monthly cash flow. Where can I put my money where it gives me monthly cash flow without needing my time? And if my personal expenses, including mortgage, taxes, everything comes down to like $200,000 to $300,000, I need to make 1.5 or more than my personal expenses and taxes for me to say I can make a decision to retire. But high achievers, we don't retire. We're going to fill our time with something. So
Right.
I probably will still be doing something productive with my time. It's just a worthy goal that I personally identified is if I can get my passive income to $500,000 a year, that will compound itself to a certain extent and keep growing. But if I can work my ass off right now to get to that, that is worth it to me. Not necessarily, doing 200 million volume, 300 million volume. We'll do that with more people. It just comes down to headcount at a certain point.
Right.
And if you're spending within the budgets of the percentages I kind of shared with you, you'll get there if you're managing your business appropriately. But it's really, if I could write off my income, if I could make the passive income, then I have more things to teach.
How many agents are on your team?
11, including me.
So 11 agents, how much support?
6 staff members.
6 staff. And you guys
2 of them are creatives.
148. That's dope. How many?
Yeah.
So you guys did 148 mil last year?
181. About 150 transactions. Our price points are high, so
I know. Yeah, I
you
never.
need more
yeah,
transactions.
that's so cool. It's just cool though. I mean, and your guys' cost, like your guys' living's different over compared to here.
NDC did 900 million.
900 million?
Yeah, bro. I'm a little fraction of him.
900 mil? How?
I don't know. You gotta ask him. You gotta invite him to a Zoom now. That's your next thing.
He's-
I'll join you for that one. I'll
man's
join you
crazy.
for that one.
And he's a cool guy. He's actually answered my phone call before when I was in Clubhouse.
Dude, yeah. When I text him for advice, he's like, "Hey, bro, you want to just call me?" He's a phone guy for sure, man.
Does he work a lot still?
He does. He is the art of the deal type of agent. He loves doing the deal.
He loves he loves that. He loves beating record. Okay, he's that guy.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I am though. I'm more like, how can I build a business that could function?
I like building. Yeah, I like the building aspect. Like, sure, I can do deals, whatever. But like, I get more satisfaction.
One person I really admire that both of us are on the path for. I don't know him personally, but you probably have heard of him too. Obviously, is Ken Pozek.
I love Ken. I talk to him all the time.
Yeah, like
that's the guy. He just loved KW. Dude, that man's a beast. That man's the most giving guy in the world. Like, I'm not like good buddies with him, but like whenever I reach out to him, we'll talk. He knows exactly who I am. Like, he sees what I do.
Yeah.
Like,
and he took his business from like just like you, I think, right? You're not from Chicago. He's not from.
I'm from here. I'm born and raised here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you moved somewhere, right? In between?
From California, yeah.
Got it. But yeah, he's a transplant, and he was able to build from like 0 to now he's doing well over 100 mil. He's probably going to do 200 mil this year.
They're going to do 200
majority
mil
YouTube.
Yeah, 200 mil in Orlando. That's crazy. And he's
mostly from YouTube,
and he has fun, and he has fun. They have fun. Like that's the coolest part. Like his agents probably love him. Like these are hot leads. Like everyone's just having fun. Like everyone's making good money. Like it's just crazy. He's just a visionary.
When he started, he made the deal with himself: 100 videos, 100 days, something like that, right? That's how he started with video, and he just honed it and niched it out more and more, and got really good at it. So, I mean, regardless of production, there's a lot of people I admire in the business that are doing way better things than I am too. So I'm in a constant pursuit of information too.
Right. Cool, man. I appreciate it though. This is actually super beneficial. So I really do appreciate it. I took a lot of notes. You see the iPad?
A lot to think about. Yeah.
I took a lot of notes.
Appreciate it, man. If I could help another person, that's what matters. So so
Well,
many
it's
people have helped
crazy.
me in my career.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you say that, like the reason I told you that I like giving back is because like, my managing broker here is like my mentor to me. Um, like she put me on, like she helped me so much. And there's this new agent in our office. I was like, all right, I'm gonna help you. And she's crushing it this year. So I'm like, whoa, it's like fulfilling. And it's like, all right, like now you gotta give it to someone and keep going. Like keep just giving it to someone.
And if you're going through your journey, and these people are placed in front of you, and then imagine now you are the purposeful Brandon, the one that the next person you train is actually someone on your team, and they repeat and rinse that whole process for your team. If you're not to say that you have to capitalize on every situation, like you don't be the guy that's so purposeful that it's always a give and take, but you kind of know what I mean. Like if you're
Yeah.
purposeful with what you're doing, you will build a big business just
Right.
naturally from your talents, your knowledge,
Right.
what you can give to the world. So, but
Right.
I think you're well on your way. I think you're good.
Cool, brother. I appreciate it, man. Helped a ton. I'll reach out if I need anything. But if you need more YouTube help or if you need intros to anyone, let me know. I'm more than happy to
Yeah.
give. I know a lot of big YouTube guys. I'm more than happy to give intros.